Germans were losing the war and the Soviet troops were advancing very fast, we were evacuated to Stuttgart, to a concentration camp. The reason why a group of about 12,000 Jews was deported, most of the people from the ghetto were deported to, maybe the amount of 12,000 is a bit exaggerated, possibly it would be less. They were deported to Estonia because Germans found some shale oil in Estonia. Shale oil could be used to produce oil. It's a very complicated process, very expensive process. The German it was essential to conduct the war, they need oil. Most of the time I was working in the garage repairing cars. It was very cold in Estonia. Sometimes the temperature dropped to 40 degrees below zero, but I managed to survive. They brought me back to Stuttgart, and in Stuttgart they kept the group separate from the rest of all the Jewish inmates because they thought that we already have experience in producing shale oil. When they discovered similar, actually at this stage I'm sure they already discovered similar shale oil in southern Germany, not far, about 80 kilometers from Stuttgart, south from Stuttgart. They brought us there and we already had to mine the oil, crush it and mine shale rock, crush it, produce oil from it. Again, it was very, very difficult, and I was really, I counted already hours how long I will survive. It was very, very bad. A friend of mine got a job in a garage, and next day I started to work there, and this again saved my life. What was very important, that when we were in Estonia, and the chance of us surviving was very, very small. One day, we had we promised one another, 3 people, that if we survive war, even for 1 minute, we'll tell the world what happened during the Holocaust, how Germans were killing the Jews. And later on, when the war was finished, and after staying in Germany for 3.5 years, working for UNRWA, and an uncle brought me to Australia, and I was 70-year-old, I decided to fulfill the promise. And I came to the Holocaust Centre to collect the testimonies. First I was working in the archives, then I started to collect the testimonies of Holocaust survivors, and I do it for the last 22 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can you tell me how old were you during your time approximately in the ghetto and camp?
17. I was born in 1922.
Yeah.
39.
Yeah. And
the war started. The ghetto was 19 already. So.
19. Yeah. Yeah. And so it was in the mid-1980s that the centre was established. And
84.
84. Yeah.
I came much later.
And the centres. Oh, you came much later. So the video testimony collection didn't start.
The video. It wasn't run through the Holocaust Centre. It was an independent group. They started it even before the Holocaust Centre was established. They collected oral testimony, usually 2-3 people were contacting the Holocaust survivors and producing 1 or 2 hours type, sometimes longer. When I came here, there was one of this person running a similar project here, but it was on a regular basis. For 3 months there was nothing done. But Holocaust Centre bought a video camera. When they bought the video camera, they asked me to videotape the testimonies. And there was slight difference. People who were collecting testimonies before, they were second generation children of the Holocaust survivors. They didn't realize the urgency. I was already 70, and I realized that the urgency of it. We started to collect, we did testimonies every day, 5 times, sometimes 6 days a week. It was very rewarding.
Yeah. How many audio testimonies were collected in before you started the video testimonies?
About 200.
200. And now there's, how many video testimonies in total?
Over 1,300.
Over 1,300, yeah, yeah. And the technology, the equipment that you started with was obviously analog form. With your
It was an analog camera, very large camera. It wasn't hi-fi even. But it serves the purpose. We didn't have a room, actually. Sometimes in the middle of the interview, somebody else had to use the same room. Then we had to take the whole equipment, including a television set, which we used as a monitor to transfer to other room, until we got a very old shed in the back.
Yeah.
And the roof was leaking, and they couldn't repair it. Possibly they didn't have enough money to replace it. So during the interview, the water was dripping from the roof. They put a plastic plant there, and when somebody asked me why the water is dripping, I was explaining the plant.
So it wasn't making noise when it was dripping as well? Or?
Sometimes
it was. Okay.
In the background.
Right, yeah.
But there is something very interesting. It was a very small shed. People had to go back to remember what happened during the Holocaust. A very gruesome period in their life. They had to dissociate themselves from current life, to go back in their memory and find themselves in the past. As a fact, the room was so small and dilapidated. It helps them somehow to retreat back in their memory this period of Holocaust.
It might even be less artificial than using the lights and that kind of thing, yeah. So there's pros and cons.
Strange enough, it was beneficial. Yes.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. Do you remember when it was that you moved to digital, so to speak, with the different cameras and?
That was about 10 years ago, approximately. We got our first digital camera, and we could record it on mini DV. You could record at standard speed, which was approximately an hour on a cassette, or long play, which was an hour and a half. We didn't have much money, and we recorded it on a long play. And I don't know if other sources will confirm it, but this mini DVs was the best storage equipment which we could use. It was far superior to the DVDs, not DVDs, DVDs on which we start later. We still got about over 100 DVDs. And we still, even our current modern camera, which is able to record it in a different way, we still use a mini DV to start, because to film it, because it's easier to start.
Yeah, because you're filming the events at the centre constantly as well.
It's easier to preserve.
Yeah.
You know?